is up? It is another edition of the Upshot podcast. I am Charlie Eisenhood. He is Josh Mansfield. It is your weekly update on the latest in the disc golf world. And we are getting ready for the Idlewild Open this weekend. Well, now it's called the LWS Open at Idlewild. But it's kind of like how they renamed Staples Center the Crypto.com Arena. And I was like, no. I'm going to go ahead and it's kind of ridiculous that I still want to call it the Staples Center because Staples is just the name of the brand. Like, it's not that different. But to me, it's the Staples Center. To me, this is the Idlewild Open. Trying to slam some name into the title just doesn't feel right to me, Josh.
Charlie, is this just going to be your thing every time we get title sponsors? First, it was Glassblown Open to DDO. That now it's Idlewild.
Did I bring up the same topic then?
Oh, yeah.
Crypto thing?
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
I'm going to beat this horse to death. Well, look, I don't begrudge Idlewild TDs for going out and getting that money. Like, do it. I understand. I mean, I feel the same way when they rename the baseball stadiums. Like, you have some sort of you get used to the name a certain way, and then when it changes, even though it was originally a brand and now it's a new brand, it still bugs you. Mm-hmm. But you know what? On the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you got to come up with that added cash. You got to get that money. So I respect it. The LWS Open at Idlewild. So Josh, how are you, first and foremost?
Yeah, not too bad. Got a lot of city council stuff this week, but excited to watch some disc golf and relax a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. And what a great course. I mean, Idlewild is one of the best courses on tour, period. You get the woods, you get the shot shaping, there's some distance shots, the really interesting greens. I just think this is one of the finest that there is on tour.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I think it combines, the both shot shaping as well as kind of the luck element as well. I know this is something that pros will oftentimes bemoan when you have courses that can heavily favor luck, but I mean, let's be real. Hole 14 at Idlewild, the one where the river just snakes through the fairway, and if you hit one tree, you drop inbounds, and you hit the other tree, you drop out of bounds. Yeah, I mean, it's luck, but it makes for excitement, and you remember that hole, right? That is something that I think is important for courses, is that there are memorable holes that are easy to pull off on just recollection that people look forward to get them excited. And Idlewild has a bunch of those holes. So luck or not, I think Idlewild is an excellent course as well.
So the tournament this year is positioned in an interesting spot because it's for FPO, it's right after the major, U.S. Women's this past weekend. And for both divisions, it's right before the European swing. And while not everybody is going over to Europe, many players are. And you're already seeing some players opt to start that trip now. Now, some of them are unsurprising. Evelina Salonen has already gone back to Europe and will be preparing for European Open in a couple weeks. But you also have some top players that are not Europeans that are doing the same thing. Calvin Heimberg, Kevin Jones, both opting to head over and play at the PCS Sula Open instead of at Idlewild. So, Calvin's number one in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. And to be fair, he's still going to have the opportunity to earn some Pro Tour points over in Europe. But not certainly the same that he would be able to earn at the full Elite Series event, the 8th stop on the DGPT, that is LWS Open. But I think it's kind of it feels like it's in this transitional spot in the tour this year. And to me, honestly, it makes it feel like the outcome feels very uncertain because you've got the FPO impact of people having just been really focused on the major. And you have everybody kind of looking ahead to the next major in just 2 weeks. At European Open. So how is that going to affect the competition this weekend? Hopefully it's like what we saw last year when we had one of the tightest battles down the stretch. We see a playoff between Kyle Klein and Andrew Marweed, and Kyle Klein gets his first Elite Series win.
Well, and this tournament has featured a large variety in the slate of winners from previous 5 years. They have not had a repeat winner in the past 5 years at Idlewild on the MPO side. It was Kyle Klein last year in the playoff, like you mentioned. 2020 was Eagle McMahon. Kevin Jones was 2019, Paul McBeth 2018, and James Conrad in 2017. So not only does Idlewild usually feature a variety of winners on the MPO side regardless, I completely agree that with some players, especially Calvin Heimberg being the notable name here, choosing to opt out, and Kevin Jones is a former winner, though not having the best season. The MPO side definitely, and I think one other thing to take into consideration as well is to bring in the new players who are coming back. Chris Dickerson, Matty O. So some players who we haven't seen nearly as much in the recent stretch of the tour are being reintroduced. And so this just feels like a different field than the one we've been seeing for the past slate of events. And that does add some variety and excitement to it on the MPO side. FPO side, I agree in terms of some of them leaving in the major, but we also have a different history there too.
Yeah. Paige Pierce winning 4 of the past 5 years. The only one she didn't get was 2020. Can you name the winner from 2020? FPO Idlewild.
I was looking at previous winners, so I can. I would not have been able to if I hadn't looked. Ellen Widboom.
Widboom, baby. That was one of the most awesome wins on tour that I can remember.
Yeah, I just remember like Paige sitting watching scores as Widboom and Hokum are coming in to finish hole 18, and I just thought, what a weird tournament.
It was a weird one. That was a COVID year, like pretty early after things started kind of resumed during COVID. And yeah, I mean, just awesome. Like Ellen Widboom will probably never win another Elite Series, but you get the one. You get the one. Paige wins it by 3 strokes last year. She beat out Missy Gannon, and Sarah Hokum a stroke behind her, and Katrina a stroke behind Hokum. So we'll see what happens this year. Paige Pierce didn't play great at U.S. Women's, but looked amazing at the Preserve. She's dominated on this Idlewild track. How will that shake out? Something to keep an eye on. We'll make our picks in just a little bit. Wanted to mention, before we go further, did I say already Paul Ulibarri also coming back?
I don't know if you mentioned that. Yeah.
Another name to keep in mind. He was back on the Jomez coverage at the Preserve, but he'll be back in competition. He's been rehabbing an injury. And just kind of like dealing with some time, just needed some time off. Chris Dickerson, of course, skipped the West Coast swing, didn't even decide to make the drive up to Minnesota for the Preserve, so he's back in action. We haven't seen him in a while, but remember when he left the tour, he was killing it. So don't sleep on him. Like, he could win this weekend. It's not unrealistic. He's the 3rd highest rated player in the field behind Ricky and Paul. And the last time we saw him was at DDO. He finished 8th. He was at 4th at Jonesboro, and of course he won at the Champions Cup. So since then, the only tournament that he's played in is the Tennessee State Disc Golf Championships, which of course he won. So he's holding it down in Tennessee. You know that.
It's interesting because we're about to lose Chris Dickerson again because he's not going over to Europe. So we're going to see Chris Dickerson for Idlewild and then a break until, and I haven't checked registration and to see if he's registered for it, but I would presume he's registered for the D-Glow. So, that's right. Still, that's a couple weeks off for Chris Dickerson again.
Yeah, so we'll see what he's able to do in the field this weekend. As we get ready to kind of break down our picks, before we get to that, what do you think it takes to be successful at Idlewild? Like, I guess one of the sub-questions there is, why have we seen 5 different winners in MPO? We don't often see that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the answer is actually drastically different for MPO and FPO side. On the MPO side, I think it requires a couple things. Number one, a strong mental fortitude, knowing that you're going to take some bad breaks and being able to roll with those punches. An ability to recover and shake off when you do hit the tree that drops you OB and understand what it is a 3-day tournament. You have time, I think, is a critical aspect. And the bounce back statistic is one that I find to be incredibly important at Idlewild because a lot of holes aren't gimme birdies that follow up incredibly difficult holes. So I think that's going to be one statistic to watch closely for MPO. The other one that I think is noteworthy, though, is an ability to accurately read the field and know when to take risks. Idlewild is a course, unlike some wooded courses, that gives you a risk-reward opportunity on a variety of holes. Our over-under is going to feature one of those. But there are holes that allow you to really challenge for the eagle, a par 5 in particular. I don't remember which hole it is. But then a hole on hole 13, the par 4, both of those will always have eagles carded during the weekend. And I think when you are looking at the kind of competition and understanding your places, where the field is, especially in the final round, knowing when to take appropriate risks based on your skill level is going to be critical, because there are greens that are treacherous. And so if you need to make up strokes because you're not the elite putter, you need to do so by going for eagles and birdies on holes that would otherwise offer safer alternatives. And so I would say it's the kind of the combination of the two, having the mental fortitude to roll with the punches, but then also being willing to develop your game plan around one that does involve taking risks.
Couple changes this year. Hole 3 used to be a pretty straightforward straight shot par 3. Now it's going to be a par 4 that has a dog leg to the right around a Mando. They also rebuilt hole 4 playing over 2 bodies of water, and they got rid of hole 6, which was kind of a flat hole that didn't offer much in the way of scoring separation. Hole 13 is a little bit longer, 112 feet longer than last year. So those are your major course changes of note, but pretty much the course that you know, with some improvements at the edges. This is the kind of changes that I like to see made to courses that are already well established on tour. Mostly just tinkering at like getting rid of the worst hole and adding a good new hole. Like 2 bodies of water to carry. That's the kind of shots that I like to see in disc golf. Let's get to our fantasy special here. Obviously, we're going to get to our picks. Fantasy special this week. I got to give you my value pick. If you do even a basic amount of research and you just think a little bit about last year, you know where I'm going to go. It's Andrew Marweed. Okay? Yeah. Look, you might be saying to yourself, well, but Andrew Marweed hasn't played very well this season. He hasn't looked that good. I don't care. We're at the point in the year where elite Andrew Marweed shows up, and you remember why this dude is like up in the top 20 at the end of the Disc Golf Pro Tour season. It's because we're getting into the woods, baby. In 2021, he was 50th at the Preserve, okay? 50th. Mm-hmm. Then he comes out at Idlewild, and he finishes second. Gets to a playoff with Kyle Klein. This year, he was 33rd at the Preserve. So what more do you need to know? Like, yeah, he doesn't play as well on the wide open holes, on the wide open courses. We're getting into the woods. We're getting into the East Coast. It's time for some Andrew Marweed. Put him in your picks. That's a great value play this week.
My value play is one that dips a little bit further down, I think, in the fantasy rosters, but I really like Casey White for this weekend. I know you used your pick for the Preserve last weekend. Coming off of an okay Preserve, 22nd, not great, but I think something to remember, and while he didn't have a spectacular performance in last year at this tournament, he's got a 9th place finish at the Open at Tallahassee, a course that I think features holes that have similar options of risk taking with some wooded elements, though not to the same extent. And he's also coming off of an A-tier win just a couple weekends ago at the Brewster Ridge Open up at Smuggler's Notch. And so I really like his chances because his home courses are Massachusetts, Woods, East Golf. And while these aren't exactly the same, I think that technicality is one that favors Casey White. And he is one who's scored eagles in the past on some of the more scoreable holes. I think if he can keep clean this weekend, he's got a really good shot to finish in the top 10.
Mm-hmm. You know, I just want to go back to Andrew Marwood real quick, because I was like, you know, I should probably make sure he's still putting well, because that's going to be important. He's number 1 on tour in C1X putting this year. Can't make it up. Love the Casey White pick, though. I think you say 22nd, not that great. I mean, as a value pick, that actually is pretty. It's
not bad.
Depends on the scoring system you use for your league or whatnot.
Sure.
But, okay, so without further ado, let's get into these picks. Josh, why don't you take it away?
All right. I'm going to start over an FPO. I think that Idlewild offers a difficult conundrum because it's Woods Golf that has OB and some very punishing holes, but simultaneously FPO scores are typically closer to par relative to other courses, which tells me that it's a course not well designed for an FPO track, and that it's just more of a modified MPO track, which is one that typically favors Paige Pierce, and why Paige Pierce has won 4 of the past 5 years. I don't think she's the pick to win this weekend. She looked terrible at US Women's. And while these tracks are going to be completely different, I just don't know if I feel comfortable coming off of that kind of a difficult weekend for Paige to have just, truly a spectacular rebound when there are some other players who I think are still playing consistently and have done so on a variety of courses. So I've got Paige my third place pick. She definitely could win it, but I just don't think she's the safe number one this weekend. In my second, I've got Owen Scoggins. Owen has the opportunity to make up strokes in the way that Missy Gannon did last year in her second place finish, where even though it's a course that is designed around more length, still has the opportunity to reward precision players and putters like Owen Scoggins, who can have a high circle 2 putting percentage, giving her, I think, a really strong podium chance finish. My winner, though, Valerie Mondahano. I think she fell short last week with a kind of lackluster back nine. That's right, but it was awfully close, and we loved her through the Texas swing, given the woods and technical shot shaping required. I think, and here's another fact, it's supposed to be hot and humid this weekend. I think that that's going to be a big advantage for players who are comfortable playing in that kind of weather and conditions. I like Valerie in just about every way possible this weekend.
I mean, Valerie has been so sharp just in all facets of the game. You know, giving herself birdie chances, hitting the putts when she has them. Like, the only players that have a higher birdie percentage are Katrina, Kristen, and Paige. And like, we've talked about the fact that she's like number 4 in this group, and there she is, and like has a chance to keep it going. Almost pulled it off, almost forced a playoff with Haley last weekend. So she's on my podium. Alert. Not in the 3 spot though. In the 3 spot, I've got Katrina Allen. Played well here in the past. I think she's got the tools to carve up these fairways. Really, the question is going to be about the putter.
Yeah,
she had a lackluster putting weekend at U.S. Women's, and frankly, if she'd hit more putts, I think she could have been in the mix down the stretch, and just couldn't quite get there because she missed too many close circle 1 putts. And we know it's been a problem for her in the past, but I don't feel like she was missing in such a way that she couldn't just immediately bounce back and have a really good weekend. Like it was just like barely off, a little low. I think it's correctable. She's looked good overall with the putter this year, and just looks more confident in general out there. So I've got her in my 3 spot. In the 2 spot, that's where I've got Valerie Mondahano. I think she could very much win. I'd like to pick, but I don't know. I got a sneaky feeling about this week. And that's why I'm going with Missy Gannon at number 1.
That's a spicy pick.
Gannon. So Missy, look, I think that this is where she's going to be able to excel. You don't need the same kind of distance. You do need to be able to shape the disc through the fairways. You do need to be able to hit your putts. And I think, you look back at what happened this past weekend, because it's like, well, why didn't she play better at U.S. Women's then, right? But she did play pretty good. She had 2 980-plus rated rounds. She just didn't play well in round 2. She shot a 57 when Haley shot a 51. 6 strokes right there. She ends up losing by 9 strokes. She wasn't that far off of playing the level of golf throughout the weekend that was required in order to win. 2 of her rounds were right there. So I think that she could come out this weekend, 3-round tournament, put it together early, and I think she can win. And she's played very close here in the past. So just think that this is the perfect time, right? Like players like Andrew Marweed, who rely a little bit more on the putter, this is the time to start thinking about them in your picks. So I'm doing it early.
All right.
Here's my MPO picks. You ready?
Yep.
I'm going with Andrew Marweed, number 3. Okay. Put my money where my mouth is.
That's right.
I'm not going to take him to win. I feel like I got to pump the brakes a little bit, but I think he's going to be on that podium again. It's Andrew Marweed season, folks. In the number 2 spot, I've got Joel Freeman. Joel Freeman
pick a lot.
Playing sneaky good out here, folks. All season long, he's been dialed in. Played here well last year. Where did he finish last year? I got to double check this. He was in 3rd, tied for 3rd. Remember, there's a big log jam up the top.
That's right.
4 players finishing 1 shot off of Klein and Marweed, who went to the playoff. So it was crazy close. Freeman was one of those guys, and frankly, he's been playing clearly better this season than he did last year. So he's in my 2 spot. My number 1 spot, I'm giving it to Boonie Hat Rick. He just threw out the first pitch at the Cincinnati Reds game. Apparently, he threw a strike inside corner. That's what people are saying. I still haven't seen any video, so could be lies. We will see.
It was Angel Hernandez who called it.
You just throw it anywhere in there, and you never know what you're going to get.
You never know.
So I've got Rick. I think, I was skeptical. Remember when he came back for Preserve, I was like, can't pick him yet. And then he almost won the thing. Like, he looked really good. I feel like he's all the way back. He looks healthy. He's feeling good. I think he goes out and he takes it down this weekend.
I really like the Ricky pick, and I do have him on my podium. He rounds out my third place. All the same reasons. My one worry about Rick is that his head's just not going to be quite as in it this weekend, right? Coming off of Preserve, he's still, he's got the Reds game, and now he's getting ready for Europe coming up next. I think he's going to be here. He's going to play well, but you can't be 100% at every tournament in terms of your mental focus. And I think this might be the tournament that Rick just isn't quite there. And I think you need to be 100% in order to get the win. My second place, Chris Dickerson. I think if we're going to see Chris Dickerson for a very short period of time, I really like his chances coming back. And Idlewild is a tournament that I think he can really, really excel at. Idlewild in a lot of ways, I think, reminds me of Brewster Ridge. And so I think that, Chris's performance there in the past bodes well for me, and it makes sense given his style of golf. So I like Chris for the number 2 slot. My winner, though, I'm doing it again. I think I've done it twice now this season, both to no avail, but Gannon Burr I'm putting him in for the win.
Wow.
He underperformed here. Yes, he underperformed here last year. I think he was in the 30s. He's playing better this season than he did last season, without a doubt. But number 2 is I think it's a reason why people are overlooking Gannon, even though he has the skill set that can absolutely help him succeed at this tournament. He shapes shots. He has distance in order to take the necessary risks, and he's a phenomenal putter. His underperformance means that I think too many people are going to be sleeping on Gannon Burr going into this weekend, and I really like his chances, especially with Calvin out and maybe the focus being a little bit diverted for other players.
All right, that brings us to our over-under. Josh, what you got for me?
So hole 13, if you recall, is the shot that has the real narrow V shot over with or V tree that you shoot the gap through, and then there's kind of the wide opening that's on the hillside, and it swings left on the hyzer into the little island where players were able then to run the putt. It produced 123 OB strokes for the MPO field last year, but it also produced 10 eagles. This year, they have pulled it off of that island and have pushed it farther back into the woods, extending the hole, but also putting it in the area that most players would miss because they would miss the gap long going into those woods. So how is it going to play exactly, and where is it tucked up, and what's the green going to look like? We can't know. But I still think this hole is a high contender for eagle opportunities on the weekend. And so my over-under is 5.5 eagles on the MPO side for all 3 rounds.
Wow. 5.5. I mean, it's 584 feet through the trees. We're going to have to see some Haley King on 17, like round 3 vibes from U.S. Women's. 580.
Here's the deal,
and
though.
No Calvin Heimberg. Talk to me.
If you hit that first gap, it's all about just because the disc, do you get the lucky penetration? All of our top pros can get to circle 2 if they get the right line, assuming, it looks like I'm imagining it in my head.
Can I ask you how many eagles there were last year?
There were 10 last year.
Gosh. There's like less risk now.
Uh-huh.
But there's more trees. I'm going to take the under.
Okay.
Under 5.5.
Under
but
5.5.
I love it. It's a puzzle to solve. It's so hard to know how it's going to play. You're part of the reasoning for me. Thunderstorms possible on Friday.
Yeah.
Showers possible on Saturday. I think that could dampen things literally and figuratively in terms of scoring. So I'm going to take the under, but I would love to be proved wrong on video over and over again.
I want to watch some, just especially players who throw smooth hyzer flips. Casey White had one of these last year, one of these Eagles, just a smooth hyzer flip that stands up and then just pushes all the way to 50 feet. I'd love to see it.
I would too. That would be great. Well, all right. That's our picks. Remember, you can find all of our picks and our over-unders and a running tally of our scores over the season at discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks. So enjoy the Idlewild Open, everybody. Let us know what you think of this shorter, tighter preview show. Trying something a little different this week. Did you like it? Let us know. You can hit us up at upshot@ultiworld.com, or if you're a subscriber in the Discord, we love the Discord. You'll love the Discord. Get yourself a subscription. Get our bonus segments like the one we'll be doing live on Sunday night following the LWS Open at Idlewild. Still don't like it, Josh.
Yeah, it's fair.
Become a subscriber for less than $4 a month at discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. Enjoy the Idlewild Open, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Well, if you're looking for the biggest and baddest pound bag that there is, go check out the fresh Octohall colorways on the website, including neon green, purple, Cryptek Raid, and Typhon hulls. You can get 18 to 20 discs in the main compartment, 4 to 5 putters up top, and additionally 4 to 6 discs in each hull pocket. Plenty of space for all of your things, snacks, water bottles, etc. And it's really just about how you like to build your bag. So get yourself a deluxe Octohull today at pounddiscgolf.com.